Discover the incredible secret. My son's surprising gift to his wife revealed my hidden mansion. Jack wiped a smudge of grease from his forehead, the weight of the day pressing on his weary shoulders. In the back of his shop he grasped a wrench, his hands calloused. A battlefield of reminder for the years spent under the shine of hooded engines. Today, as a cloud of anticipation settled over their small town, he couldn't shake the unease lurking beneath the surface. Tomorrow Ryan was set to marry Emma, and he could feel the weight of expectations swirling around like the smoke from today's final car tune-up. What would come next? A gift intended for a celebration. Yet here he stood, a tightness clenching in his chest, a secret long hidden, starting to pulse with life. Jack glanced at the worn box resting on his workbench. Inside lay an old rusted key. His father's key. The key that once turned the lock of an empty mansion steeped in their family history. An inheritance that felt more like a burden than a blessing. Snatches of memories flooded in. The echoes of his father's dreams danced mockingly in his mind. "This can be your opportunity, Jack," his father had said, his eyes filled with hope. Jack choked that hope down with the bitter pill of reality. He'd traded dreams for grit and sweat, but in all his toiling, had he only managed to dig a grave for possibility? As Ryan's wedding drew near, unease turned into a tempest. What did it mean to reveal that key? It could unlock doors long closed. The laughter from family and friends would soon fill their small gathering. Yet Jack's heart raced at the thought of opening a door to the past and dragging them down a path of forgotten memories. What if in those walls lay the shadows of choices he had battled all his life? What if revealing the key led Ryan to chase dreams Jack himself once dared to consider? Could he bear the thought of his son alighting upon aspirations that brought only struggle? Jack's mind raced, held captive by 1,000 what-ifs. Why now? What would Ryan think? He was on the brink of starting his own life, yet behind that curious smile lay an artist yearning to express what was unseen. Could this broken relic unlock just another disappointment? In this safe haven of uncertainty, he found himself hesitating, caught between shielding his son or inviting him into a reality that could fracture the sweet veneer of their lives. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Stepping back outside, he took a deep breath, fingers trembling slightly as he turned the key over in his hand. Despite the lingering fear that clawed within him, there was a promise tucked within that rusted piece of metal. It whispered of connections, of understanding his roots. Jack's chest tightened. What kind of father would he be if he didn't allow Ryan to explore this vein of legacy? What sacred emotions and unborn dreams were hidden behind those decaying walls? He was on the very edge, his mouth dry, heart desperate to protect while yearning to unfold the past. But tomorrow would come too quickly, and each tick of the clock brought him closer to confronting the storm of questions that awaited them all. Would unveiling the mansion bring healing, or would it shatter every piece of hope he'd fought to build? As the evening sky deepened, Jack stood there, torn between desire and dread, the notion of loss beginning to loom heavier than ever before. Jack stood frozen in the late evening shadows, the key heavy in his palm, a tangible reminder of his past and a potential blueprint for his son's future. Fear collided with an unexpected sense of urgency. What had once seemed a weighty burden transformed into a seed of possibility, ready to sprout and grow without his permission. As the sky darkened, flickering memories of laughter and dreams mingled with the apprehension he bore. His thoughts drifted to the wedding day ahead, bright, hopeful, filled with promise. Yet behind the celebration loomed a specter, whispering unresolved dilemmas into his ear. To encapsulate his father's vision within the walls of that mansion felt daunting. Would he be gifting Ryan a chance to rewrite their family history? Or would he be forcing him into the same crushing reality that smothered Jack's own dreams? Taking a step toward understanding, Jack took a sip of the cold coffee left on the workbench, its bitter edge mirroring his angst. It was nearly time to start fresh, yet here he was, anchored by his fears of inadequacy, riddled with doubts about the legacy he would pass on. His father had once looked at the mansion with hopeful eyes, but Jack only saw disillusionment and madness in those decayed walls. In their grandeur lay failure and lost aspirations. Was Ryan destined to repeat those patterns? Jack questioned everything. Could the key serve as a bridge to self-discovery for his son, revealing not just the mansion but the latent potential within? Confronting the fears that bubbled beneath the surface, Jack's thoughts shifted as he pondered Ryan's artistic inclinations. He had watched his son sketching for hours, lost in a world vibrant with colors, and Jack resented that part of him, perhaps the part that reminded him of what could have been. Would Ryan's artistic soul find resonance within those walls, or would it be drowned under the weight of Jack's insecurities? With the wedding day looming, Jack made a silent promise to embrace his own past, whatever it would mean for their future. It was time to reclaim every bitter lesson learned and transcend the shackles of fear. He envisioned standing by Ryan's side, handing him that key, and opening a door that could lead to nourishment instead of desolation. He knew he needed to share not just the key, but also the truth of their family's legacy, the beauty and the sorrow woven together. Tomorrow they would celebrate. But he needed to prepare Ryan, make him understand the depth of that mansion before stepping through its threshold. Jack's pulse quickened with a resolve taking root. Delving into the unknown? Wasn't he chasing the same dream he had buried all those years ago? As the last light of the day dimmed, Jack felt the bud of determination within him, watered by the promise of discovery. Before closing up the shop for the night, he decided to lay out a plan. There would be time. He would speak with Ryan, share the history, the struggles, and ultimately, the strength embodied in that key. But he also had to find a way to support Ryan's artistry, to ensure that his son could cultivate his own path without the burden of Jack's past weighing him down. And as the stars began to twinkle in the abyss of night, Jack realized one thing. The moment of truth was upon him. He would confront his fears, allowing both himself and Ryan to explore the mansion, not just as a structure of stone and dust, but as a canvas for dreams that could flourish or crumble. Tomorrow would not only mark Ryan's wedding, but the beginning of their journey into the open vault of their family's history, where answers awaited, and hopefully, healing could begin. What lay behind those walls? Jack could only wonder if the key truly unlocked not just a mansion, but the very essence of who they were meant to be. After a restless night filled with a whirlwind of thoughts and the haunting echoes of his family's past, Jack awoke to the chirping of birds, an unwelcome reminder of reality. With a deep breath, he stared at the ceiling, a canvas of faded paint reflecting his own concerns about the day ahead. The wedding day wasn't just an occasion to celebrate Ryan's union. It was the opening of a door, a beginning that felt more daunting than liberating. Dragging himself out of bed, he submerged himself in the practical tasks of the day. Every movement felt automatic, a whirlpool of familiarity, but inside, Jack battled a storm of emotions. Today he had to be strong, not just for Ryan but for himself. He needed to confront the mansion they were about to explore together, to wield the key not as a tool for unlocking fear, but as an instrument of healing. As he cooked breakfast, the sounds of clattering pans echoed through the house, juxtaposed with a sense of anticipation swirling in his mind. He pictured Ryan, dressed in his suit, full of hope and love. Jack had always been proud of his son, but as the moments drew closer, A sense of dread clung to him like smoke. What if Ryan, upon entering the mansion, saw only Jack's doubts and the shadows of mediocrity? With breakfast prepared, he rallied himself to speak with Ryan. Sitting across from his son at the dining table, Jack studied the young man's face, glowing with a mix of excitement and nerves. It struck him how much Ryan resembled him at that age. Ambitious, yet vulnerable. He wondered how best to navigate this conversation. Should he shield Ryan from the mansion's secrets, or expose him to the whole truth? "Dad?" Ryan's voice cut through his thoughts. "Yeah," Jack replied, shaking off his introspection. "Are you okay? You seem distant." Genuine concern filled Ryan's eyes. It was a reflection of empathy, or perhaps worry. Jack cleared his throat. "There's something we need to talk about. Before the wedding. Before we get into the mansion." Ryan leaned in, curiosity mingling with apprehension. "What is it?" Jack hesitated, wrestling with each word. "The key. It's more than a passcode to a building. It symbolizes our family's history, both beauty and pain. You need to understand what awaits you behind those doors." His words spilled out, tentatively then, with growing assurance. "I want to know, Dad. I want to understand." As Ryan spoke, Jack felt an urge to share not only memories of his own pain, but also the hopefulness he had seen blooming in Ryan's sketches. In his heart, Jack knew that his son's artistry was a testament to resilience, exactly what he needed to pass down. "Your grandfather," Jack began, his voice stronger now, "had grand dreams for that mansion. Dreams that sometimes shattered under the weight of expectations and failure. But I see something in you, Ryan. Something that can redefine what that house means." With every word, Jack recognized the power embedded in vulnerability. The revelation galvanized him to be honest about his own dreams and regrets. "Promise me," Jack said, looking his son straight in the eye. "If you choose to step into that mansion, you do it with the understanding that it holds both our past trials and your bright potential. You can make it yours, redefine it in a way I never could." Ryan nodded, a determination emerging on his face. "I promise, Dad. I want to create something new." Their conversation opened a floodgate of hope. Both of them would carry deeper expectations into the mansion. Not just of the building, but of the legacy they would mold together. As the day progressed, Jack helped Ryan prepare, moving in rhythm with the wedding preparations. Yet turmoil brewed beneath the surface. The impending visit loomed as if the mansion could suck the joy from the event. Just before the ceremony began, Jack caught a fleeting glimpse of the mansion from a distance, its looming silhouette against the sky. A moment of resolve washed over him. He was ready to face not only the mansion's uncertainties, but his own echoes of the past. They stepped into the wedding venue, laughter and music surrounding them. Yet Jack's mind remained anchored on the key nestled in his pocket. What awaited them after the wedding? What transformation would take place when they finally crossed the mansion's threshold? As they moved through the festivities, the key felt heavier with each passing moment. He could only wonder if it would be a blessing or a curse. The truth behind that door beckoned, and Jack would soon discover whether it was liberation or despair awaiting them. But there, in the depths of celebration and foreboding anticipation, one question spiraled in Jack's mind. Would the mansion reveal the healing they both desperately sought? Or would it pull apart the fragile threads of hope they'd barely woven together? As the wedding ceremony unfolded, Jack's heart raced in sync with the drumbeat of celebration. The seated guests were hushed, eyes glistening, waiting with anticipation. He felt as though he were watching the scene through a tinted glass. Everything was vivid, yet surreal. Ryan stood under an arched floral arrangement, his smile radiant, seemingly unburdened by the mansion's shadow looming in the back of Jack's mind. Jack grappled with the dissonance. This was a day of love and connection, yet the weight of the past pressed heavily on his chest. He felt out of place, as if he were standing at the intersection of two worlds, one vibrant and filled with hope, the other dense with unresolved issues from years gone by. How could he enjoy this moment when the specter of the mansion awaited their arrival, surely holding secrets meant to stay buried? The ceremony flowed smoothly, punctuated by tender moments and laughter. Each gesture, the exchanging of vows, a tearful embrace, the first kiss, felt like a reminder of what familial bonds should signify. Yet as Jack watched Ryan, with the radiant Emily by his side, he wrestled with a gnawing realization. Was he ready to confront the complexities of his past? The weight of that key in his pocket was a constant reminder. After the ceremony, there was a flurry of activity. Jack realized he had to shift gears and focus on the present. He pushed down the unease swirling inside him and congratulated the newlyweds, squeezing Ryan's shoulder firmly. "Today is about you two, remember that?" He smiled, though part of him struggled to hold his facade together. But then, amidst the congratulations and laughter, a moment of calm arrived as Jack stepped outside to breathe in the air, swirling with a floral scent under the rich blue sky. He leaned against a wooden railing, gazing at the trees lining the yard. For a moment, he let his mind drift to the quiet childhood days spent in that mansion. Days filled with dreams, but equally haunted by darker realities he wished to forget. "Dad?" Ryan's voice broke through his thoughts, and Jack turned to find his son, a slight frown creasing his smooth forehead. "You all right?" "Just taking a moment," Jack replied, gesturing toward the distant moonlit horizon. The sun was setting, and it painted the environment with a warm glow that juxtaposed with the chill in his heart. "You know, memories. They tend to resurface at times like this." Ryan stepped closer, concern etching his features. "You sure you're ready to go there? To the mansion?" Jack turned his gaze toward Ryan. "I am. For you." Even as he said it, doubts crept in. A flicker of anxiety ignited within him. "But I want to ensure you're ready too. It holds a lot more than just memories. It has the power to shape who we both will become." "I want that responsibility, Dad. This is our legacy," Ryan insisted, exuding a determination that struck Jack right in his core. It was strength he admired, a reflection of resilience he hoped to foster in himself. Just then, a figure approached, Emily, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Jack, can we take a quick picture with the two of you?" she asked, bursting with that new bride energy. "Of course," Jack replied, masking the tremor in his voice. As they positioned themselves for the photograph, he felt the warmth of Ryan's hand on his back. There was reassurance nestled in that small gesture. After capturing those moments of joy, the celebration resumed, but Jack's focus began to sharpen on the mansion looming in the distance. The way it stood against the twilight sky transformed it into a symbol, not of fear, but of change, a catalyst for liberation. In that moment, an unexpected surge of motivation surged within him. Perhaps it was time to stop holding on to his past as a burden, and instead embrace it as a stepping stone toward something greater. The mansion didn't have to define them. They could redefine its narrative. As darkness settled in and the final moments of the celebration approached, Jack felt ready to step into the unknown. There was a gathering storm of emotion brewing inside him, anticipation mingled with trepidation. But he chose to focus on hope. With the ceremony concluded, a whispering thought flickered in his mind. Maybe the key that hung heavily in his pocket was not a reminder of regret, but an invitation to transformation. Jack could sense it. The pressure building, the moment nearly upon them. They had to face the mansion and all its implications. He turned toward Ryan and Emily, their energy infectious. "Shall we?" The prospect of the threshold awaiting them felt almost electric. Jack's pulse quickened with the thrill of possibility. He wondered, not for the first time, what awaited them inside the walls they had yet to step into. As the night embraced them, he felt the door closing on old fears, and with renewed conviction, he knew the true test was about to begin. Would they emerge with healing, or would unearthing the past tear them apart? Jack led the way toward the mansion, each step feeling heavier than the last as the familiar structure loomed larger, a haunting presence threading through his mind. The cool evening air seemed to vibrate with anticipation, shadows stretching beyond the reach of the outdoor lighting. He could feel Ryan's determination beside him, a comforting weight. Yet Jack's own heart was caught in a turbulent whirlpool of memories. Some cherished, others painful. As they reached the heavy oak door, Jack paused, hand hovering over the brass handle. For a moment, the past flooded back. The laughter of childhood friends, the whispers of secrets shared in the dim attic, and the echoes of arguments that once pierced the silence. Despite the nostalgia, he felt an undercurrent of dread. Would facing these memories unlock a Pandora's box of conflict, better left sealed? Are you sure about this? Ryan's voice broke through his internal struggle. There was an understanding in his gaze that made Jack ponder the burdens they both carried. Maybe we should wait. No, Jack countered, a fierceness igniting in him. We can't just dodge our history. This is where we came from, and it's part of who we are. He realized he was talking about more than the mansion. He was referencing a part of himself that had been locked away for too long. Jack pushed the door open, the creak of the hinges reverberating through the darkness like a warning cry. The interior was cloaked in shadows, stirred only by the soft glow of moonlight filtering through the grimy windows. Dust particles swirled in the air, heavily laden with the scent of aged wood and forgotten dreams. Jack shivered, not just from the chill, but from the layers of emotion that unfurled within him. Let's turn on the lights, Ryan suggested, reaching for the switch. With the flick of a finger, the room brightened, illuminating the once thriving heart of their family life. It looked both majestic and haunting, an embodiment of dreams unfulfilled. Wow, Emily whispered, stepping forward to scout the space. Her curiosity was palpable, but Jack could sense her hesitance too. The mansion had its own charm, but it also carried the weight of their family's history, a burden that could overshadow any moment of joy they sought to create. They moved deeper into the house, each room steeped in a memory that made Jack's throat tighten. Remember this? He asked Ryan, gesturing toward the old fireplace where they had gathered during holidays. An assortment of festive decorations rested in boxes against the wall, remnants of happier times overshadowed by ghosts of arguments that had left them feeling fractured. Yeah, it feels different now, Ryan replied, his voice a blend of nostalgia and resolve. We're back here, and it's time to reclaim it. As they stepped into the dining room, Jack's eyes caught the grand table, once set for elaborate family feasts. Now it stood bare, shrouded in dust. For a fleeting moment he imagined placing a vibrant tablecloth across its surface, surrounding it with laughter and warmth again. But that vision clashed with the reality of their family history, muddled by resentment. Ryan turned to him, determination shining through those familiar eyes. We can make this place ours again, Dad. It doesn't have to stay in the past. Jack felt a surge of pride mixed with apprehension. His son was stepping into the shoes of a leader, embracing a responsibility that Jack had long avoided. But could he really help Ryan reclaim their legacy and face the shadows that haunted this house? Let's start with a plan, Jack suggested, the weight of the mansion seeming lighter now. We'll unravel this history together. For the first time that night, a glimmer of hope flickered within him, igniting a flicker of excitement about what they might build together. Yet, as they moved into the next room, a shiver of uncertainty coiled around Jack's heart. Hidden secrets lingered like a thick fog, and he could almost feel the ghosts swirling around them. What would they uncover? Would the truth they faced bind them together, or tear them apart? Jack hadn't realized the mansion held more than memories. Perhaps its walls concealed hidden paths they'd yet to discover, the real legacy waiting to be unearthed. What if this journey became about more than just reconciliation? What if it held a surprising twist that would redefine everything they thought they knew? "Are we ready for this?" he whispered, half to himself, half to Ryan and Emily, who stood steadfast beside him, emboldened by a purpose that gleamed in their eyes. The answer remained elusive as they ventured deeper. The night had only just begun, the mansion standing like a sentinel holding its breath. The real test awaited them, and with it, the uncertainty about whether they would emerge whole or shattered. As the door creaked closed behind them, Jack felt the weight of the unknown looming closer, whispering secrets meant to be unveiled. The air was thick with an uninvited tension as Jack and his family delved deeper into the mansion. Each creak of the floorboards echoed, amplifying the silence that enveloped them. Jack caught Emily glancing around, her eyes wide with both wonder and trepidation. It was clear that this place was a fortress of memories, some joyous, others tainted with a bitterness he wished to shake off. "Let's check the attic," Ryan suddenly suggested, sparking a flicker of anticipation in Jack's chest. The attic was where many of their childhood adventures had unfolded, a sanctuary of dreams and imagination. Jack felt a knot of apprehension twist in his stomach. The attic had been a refuge, but it also housed remnants of disarray that mirrored the family dynamics he wanted to mend. Climbing the narrow staircase, Jack's mind was flooded with the laughter that once bounced off the walls. But the resonating silence now felt like a judgment. They reached the attic door, the wood rattling gently, as if timid to reveal what lay beyond. "Who's going first?" Ryan asked, half smirking. Yet there was a challenge in his tone, a dare wrapped with the hope to confront their past head-on. "I'll go," Jack said, surprising even himself. He pushed the door open, revealing a dusty expanse filled with long-forgotten treasures and remnants of a life that seemed both distant and intimidating. The air tasted different here. It felt like inhaling fragments of lost time. Stepping inside, Jack felt a wave of nostalgia wash over him. Boxes upon boxes were stuffed with the treasures of childhood. Old toys, half-finished art projects, and books with dog-eared pages. As he began to rummage through the chaos, a faded photograph slipped out from a brittle album, drifting to the floor. He bent to retrieve it, discovering a snapshot of the family gathered on the lawn. Smiles as wide as the sky above. Inexplicably, a pang of longing hit him. "Dad, look at this!" Ryan called from across the room, interrupting Jack's reverie. He turned to see his son grinning, holding an old ornate chest covered in dust, a treasure almost lost in the hodgepodge of relics. Curiosity piquing, Jack approached, feeling an involuntary thrill stirring within him. "What did you find?" "I don't know." Ryan shrugged, his excitement palpable. "Let's open it." As they pried open the chest, a cascade of rolled-up blueprints spilled out like a flood of possibilities. They were detailed, meticulously drawn. Jack's heart raced as he recognized the architectural plans from years long vanished into memory. Glimpses of the mansion's original layout intertwined with notes that hinted at secret passages and hidden spaces. "Wow, Dad, this is so cool!" Ryan exclaimed, eyes sparkling with delight. The blueprints ignited a spark of inspiration in Jack. This mansion, once a burden, could transform into something entirely new, fresh with potential. But then a creeping doubt snaked through him. Hidden passages? What secrets lay buried here? Could stumbling upon such revelations unravel their family history further? Or was it the key to restoring bonds that had frayed over the years? Jack's heart raced at the thought of what could be found within these walls. He had taken a step, but was he ready for what these discoveries might demand of him? As they continued to sift through the contents, Jack couldn't shake a feeling that something remained obscured, waiting to be unearthed, a secret threatening to change everything about them. The tension in the air thickened as Jack turned back to eye the fading blueprints. Unraveled mysteries lay ahead, and with every piece of paper, every hushed whisper of the past, the tug of destiny beckoned him forward. "Let's dig deeper," he murmured, a hint of trepidation lacing his voice. They were on the brink of something momentous, with shadows lurking and possibilities boundless. What would they uncover, and how would it alter their very understanding of family and legacy? The attic, with its myriad of hidden stories, felt more like an invitation than a prison now. But Jack couldn't shake the dread lingering at the back of his mind. Would they emerge with answers, or would the secrets they unveiled push them further apart? Suddenly the question hung in the air, heavy and unresolved. "Let's see what other surprises this place has waiting for us," he vowed, heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. Not just for what lay ahead, but what they might truly discover about themselves amidst the shadows. The atmosphere shifted the moment Jack stated his intention to explore further. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him, a palpable force guiding his actions. As they rummaged through the attic's artifacts, Jack felt a swell of determination rise within, competing against his deeper fears. Each item they uncovered was like a clue in a puzzle, pieces illustrating not just the past, but the potential for a future that he hadn't dared to imagine. "What do you think this place used to mean to Grandma and Grandpa?" Emily asked, her voice fragile but curious. Jack paused, absorbing her question. He realized that to truly reshape their family dynamic, he needed to embrace the narratives that came with it. The joy, the sorrow, the chaos. "I think it meant everything to them," he replied, his voice steadier than he felt. "We need to reconnect with what this house has to offer, not just for us, but for the legacy they left behind." His gaze landed back on the blueprints spread across the floor. They weren't just sketches of the mansion, they represented possibilities. He could already envision himself standing in front of the living room window, looking out at the garden he could restore, the laughter echoing through the halls that could fill the emptiness. "Hey, look at this!" Ryan exclaimed, holding another piece of paper. "It's a list of rooms and their purpose. This one here says art studio. Was there really an art studio here?" Jack felt a thrill course through him. His own suppressed creativity began to surface, flickering to life like an ember waiting to ignite. The mansion had once been a canvas of creativity for his parents, and that legacy could be rebuilt. "Yeah, there was. Mom used to paint in there," he mused, feeling a rush of nostalgia. "Can we turn it back into a studio?" Ryan asked, hope twinkling in his eyes. "Absolutely," Jack affirmed, a plan forming. "We could even create a family art day, where we all paint together. It could be our way to bond, to connect." But as Jack started to map out this ideal future in his mind, the tight knot of apprehension twisted tighter. What if they just repeated the same cycles of conflict wrapped in illusion? What was the point if, deep down, the hurt and misunderstanding still lay festering? A sudden chill swept across the attic, dragging Jack's thoughts to the darker possibilities hidden behind the allure of nostalgia. Were these memories just a facade to ignore the deep fissures in their family? He glanced at Emily and Ryan, both eyes bright with excitement, and yet oblivious to the way Jack wrestled with the complex emotions threatening to surface. "Dad?" Ryan's voice broke through his contemplation. "What are you thinking?" "I just wonder how everything in this house connects. If we're going to rebuild something here, we have to face everything it represents," Jack admitted, feeling exposed. We need to be genuine with each other, about our past, the good and the bad. The air simmered with unspoken truths, a tangible tension building. Jack felt a stirring within him, as if acknowledging the cracks in their foundation was necessary for true healing. He didn't want to slip back into avoidance, not when the possibility of real growth beckoned. Maybe, he started, choosing his words deliberately. We should talk about everything we find in this house. Not just our discoveries, but how they made us feel. If we want to transform this space, we have to be honest with ourselves. A shared silence enveloped them, the kind that hinted at impending changes. Jack understood then that digging deeper meant grappling with hidden pains and missed moments. He was ready to confront the truths that could heal or hurt. As they gathered around the blueprints once more, Jack's heart raced with determination. Let's tackle these layers, together. The attic, now laced with a promise of discovery and transformation, felt electric with possibility. Yet, an unsettling thought crept in. Had they stumbled into a venture that would eventually lay bare not only their shared history, but the severed bonds lurking beneath? Jack's mind began to churn with unanswered questions. What skeletons might rattle in the closets of their family legacy? Their journey of uncovering could go much deeper than mere renovations. We're just at the beginning, he said, a breath hitching in his throat. And the real challenge lies ahead. Are we ready to face what's buried here? As they all nodded, an unspoken agreement hung in the air. The promise of secrets called to them, and Jack sensed they had only begun to scratch the surface of a much deeper truth that would transform everything. The morning sun filtered through the attic window, casting a warm glow over the scattered artifacts. Jack felt a pulse of energy reverberate through him as the moment of truth approached. There was a palpable weight in the air, a mix of anticipation and trepidation. This was not merely about renovation. It was about revitalization on a deeper level, within the family and within himself. As the three of them settled onto the dusty floor, Jack took a breath, feeling the fragile threads of communication string taut around them. This wasn't just a conversation. It was a reckoning. All right, let's delve into this. What did this place mean to you? What do you remember? Emily looked up, her big eyes reflecting uncertainty and curiosity. I remember Grandma teaching me to paint. There were always colors everywhere. But after she passed away, I don't think I ever picked up a brush again. Her confession landed heavily, like a stone dropped into still water, rippling outward to touch both Jack and Ryan. Jack's heart ached for Emily's lost connection to their grandmother, another part of the family's spirit buried beneath layers of grief and neglect. We can change that, he declared, struggling to mask his own fragility beneath a veil of resilience. We bring back more than just memories. We bring back life in here. Ryan shifted uneasily, drawing in a breath that hinted at his own buried hesitations. But what if we find things we don't want to remember? He asked, his youthful voice carrying the weight of unspoken fears. What if it just gets messy? What if we hurt each other? Jack met his son's gaze, recognizing the flicker of doubt, a mirror reflecting his own. It will get messy. That's the point. But we can't build a future if we're afraid to confront the past, he said softly. His mind raced, grappling with the irony of his own words. Here he was, advocating for raw honesty, yet wrestling with the very same urge to avoid conflict himself. Let's take the blueprints as our guide, Jack suggested, directing their focus back to the documents laid out before them, fingers tracing the intricate lines. Each room represents a part of our family story. We can choose one room at a time and talk about how it connects to us personally. With a tentative nod, Emily broke the silence. What about the art studio? It feels like it could be where we start. Jack's heart swelled at her initiative, the once vibrant spark of creativity reigniting, hinting at a shift within them all. "All right then," he agreed. "Let's talk about what that room means to us, and how we can fill it with new life. For you, Em, it represents your lost creativity. But it can be so much more." As they began to share their experiences and feelings about the art studio, Jack felt the threads of connection starting to weave tighter between them. They spoke of joy and sorrow, colors past, and memories buried. Each revelation was like peeling back a layer of their hearts, exposing vulnerabilities he had not fathomed in them, let alone himself. Midway through their sharing, a realization struck him. With every revelation, he was not only producing beauty and understanding, but also carving a path for personal growth. Every open dialogue shone a light on his own stubborn fear of vulnerability, a barrier to evolving in his role as a father and family leader. Glimmers of hope emerged as Emily described her paints and canvases, recounting the exhilaration she felt when she created. Jack recognized the familiar spark in her words. The artistic journey had always been a profound source of joy, one he too could reclaim. He felt propelled forward, eager to dust off the brushes and reclaim the space. The moment stretched longer than expected, an anchor in their lives and hearts, signifying that a shift was beginning. As excitement replaced some of the tension, Jack prepared to guide this family closer, determined to ensure they embraced the complexity of their collective past instead of retreating into separation. Yet as they spoke, Jack couldn't escape the gnawing worry lurking beneath the surface. Was it enough? Could they really confront the unmentioned grief and misunderstandings? Would this exercise of honesty lay the groundwork for true healing? Or would it merely expose faults that left scars unhealed? As they wrapped up, Jack thought about the future. "We'll tackle each room, one at a time. But let's be honest, real growth often requires facing discomfort. We're on the verge of something big," he said, his voice building in resolve. But there, flickering in his mind, was the doubt. Were they all truly ready for the storm of emotions and revelations just around the corner? What if? He pondered silently. The worst was still yet to come. As they packed away the blueprints, an unsettling realization lodged in his mind. A pivotal encounter loomed, one poised to challenge everything he believed about family and connection. Jack awoke the next morning, his mind buzzing with the conversations from the previous day. The attic had changed from a mere storage space into a crucible of emotions. It felt alive with whispers of the past, urging him to mold it into something that could heal. Yet he found solace in the comfort of routine, the structural predictability of the day-to-day tasks that lay ahead. Over coffee, he could see Emily thumbing through a sketchbook, and Ryan engrossed in a video game. But an unseen tension held them. Through the window he saw the garden beginning to bloom, and he wished for the same vitality to emerge from within his family. The hope of restoring their connection felt perilous. It nudged a gnawing uncertainty in him. What if the vulnerable moments they shared were but fleeting flashes in a long journey of unresolved issues? As the day unfolded, Jack aimed to set an example of authenticity, navigating through the fragile web of emotions that entwined them. He grabbed his phone and texted Emily. "Let's make a trip to the art supply store today. We can find what we need to breathe new life into the studio." To his delight, she responded enthusiastically. "Great idea, Dad. I can show you some of my favorite brushes." Ryan, overhearing the exchange, looked up from the screen, his brow furrowed. "Do I have to go?" Jack hesitated. His son's reluctance sparked a defensive urge. "No, but I thought you might like to help us choose stuff. It could be fun. We need all hands on deck for this project." Ryan sighed dramatically, dropping his head back against the couch. "Fine, but I'm not going to carry anything." Jack bit back a smile, recognizing the familiar defiance. This was a small victory, a step toward involving Ryan in what he believed would be a transformative journey. Regardless of the boy's grumbling, he sensed a flicker of interest beneath Ryan's nonchalance. Once they arrived at the store, the scent of paint and varnish hit them like a nostalgic wave. Jack felt a rush of excitement. Colors, textures, brushes, everything held the promise of revitalization. As Emily darted through the aisles, her enthusiasm was palpable. "Look at these colors! Can we get these, please?" she squealed, holding up vibrant pinks and greens. "Of course, if they inspire you," Jack replied, wishing Ryan would mirror the same excitement. But his son hovered by the entrance, fumbling with his phone. It struck Jack. The contrast was striking. Here was Emily, embracing her past through creativity, while Ryan seemed lost in the surface distractions of technology. "Hey, Ryan," Jack called out. "What do you think about this shade of blue?" Ryan glanced up, and for a moment, Jack could see his interest piqued. He ambled over, shrugging. "It's okay, I guess. I don't know much about colors," he admitted sheepishly. "Well, how about we select something that can represent all of us? Colors can be personal, just like what we want to create in the studio. What do you think?" For a second, Ryan appeared taken aback. The challenge in Jack's voice embedded an openness that hadn't existed before. "I don't know, I mean, some deep sea blue sounds cool or something?" "Let's get deep sea blue then. It represents depth and mystery, like all of us," Jack said, sealing the decision with a grin. An ember flickered in Ryan's eyes, indicating that perhaps the boy was ready to explore deeper conversations. At the checkout, the trio collectively carried their finds. Walking back to the car, Jack couldn't help but notice the subtle unity forming between them. They were becoming co-creators on this journey of rediscovery, each adding a stroke to the family canvas. Yet an undercurrent of tension clung to him as the shadow of unacknowledged issues loomed ahead. Jack privately wrestled with a nibbling feeling. Could the relationships truly be mended? Or was this merely hopeful optimism layered over fragile disappointment? Once they returned home, the project would unveil more than just paint. It would expose the fissures buried deep down. As he parked the car, the hesitance weighed heavily again, bringing Jack's thoughts back to the attic. Were they ready to excavate the emotions lying dormant? The truths that needed to be unearthed? Could art not only paint their environment, but illuminate their hearts? Determined to find out, he rallied. "All right, team, let's get to work." But as he led them into the house, a chilling recognition settled in. The real work hadn't even begun, and it loomed larger than the three of them could have imagined. What would they discover about one another, and themselves, once they truly stepped into the chaos waiting within the walls? The sun streamed through the attic window, illuminating the room that had transformed overnight from a storage space, cluttered with memories, to a vibrant tapestry of potential. Jack stood among his scattered family, inspired and determined. They had gathered all the supplies necessary for a new beginning, yet beneath the excitement lay an undercurrent of tension and unspoken fears. "Let's turn this place into a sanctuary for creativity," he declared, picking up a paintbrush and waving it like a wand. "We're not just painting walls, we're painting a legacy." As Ryan filled a paint tray with the deep sea blue, Jack felt a surge of pride in his son. Although still reluctant in spirit, Ryan had stepped up. "Can we start with the art studio?" he asked, a tinge of eagerness creeping into his voice. Jack nodded enthusiastically, grateful for the shift. Working side by side, Jack felt the earlier tension dissipate as they painted the studio walls, splashes of colors blending seamlessly. Emily revealed her vision with fervor. "We could make this a place for all of us. Can we add a mural?" Her eyes sparkled with excitement, and Jack couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope for the future. "Absolutely. Let's create something collaborative," Jack said, feeling the weight of shared purpose lift the burdens of their past. As the paint rolled on, it symbolized not just a physical transformation, but an emotional unveiling. The atmosphere shifted as their laughter echoed through the space, but Jack remained acutely aware of the unacknowledged shadows lingering in the corners of the room. The more they infused life into the studio, the more the walls seemed to pulse with the echoes of their family's history, and he knew they couldn't transform this space without confronting the past. "Hey!" Ryan said, pausing, brush suspended midair. "This place, it feels different already. Can we talk about what our grandparents imagined for it?" Jack felt his heart swell. "Absolutely, but let's keep in mind that their dreams didn't come without struggles. We have to embrace both sides of the legacy, the joy and the pain. It's the only way we can truly make this ours." A charged silence settled over them, heavy with anticipation but threaded with newfound courage. Emily chimed in. "I remember Grandma talking about wanting me to paint my own dreams. She believed art could heal." The vulnerability in her voice grounded Jack. Ryan, emboldened by their openness, added, "I can't help but think they may have wanted us to learn from their mistakes." The two had stumbled into a deeper understanding, one he couldn't ignore. This was the moment for transformation. Let's create our mural and use it to depict our shared journeys, the highs and lows. Jack suggested, his voice steady. "Through this, we'll honor our past and celebrate the connection we want to build." With hesitant enthusiasm, they began sketching out ideas, using symbols that represented their hopes and collective journeys. The more they discussed the details, the more Jack felt a wave of liberation wash over him. This was no longer a burden steeped in shadow but an antithesis to fear. A shift in legacy where voices were heard and hearts were opened. As colors splashed onto the walls, so did their stories. The craft sparked laughter, connection, and healing. Each brushstroke propelled Jack further away from the specters of his past and closer toward a future painted with hope. "Can you believe we've come this far?" Emily said, stepping back to admire their progress. "This is incredible." "Yes, it is. You both are incredible." Jack felt the pride swell within him, a pride that had once been muffled by uncertainty and sorrow. Reality settled in when Ryan paused, seriousness engulfing his features. "But, Dad, what about the things we haven't said? Do we have to face the rest of it?" Jack felt the air shift. The fear of earnest conversation loomed, unfurling layers of anxiety he thought he had tucked away. But as he glanced around the studio filled with laughter and creativity, he realized they had created a sacred space to confront it all. "What we've shared today is just as significant as tableau we've painted," Jack replied, his voice heavy yet accepting. "The transformation cannot just lie in aesthetics. We owe it to ourselves to bring our truths into the light. Only through acknowledging what was can we create what will be." With a shared glance, a silent agreement formed among them. They were ready to explore the murky depths of their emotional history, unified by their commitment to face each layer. The fear that had once curbed their potential now felt less like an anchor and more like a catalyst for discovery. They gathered in a circle, the blueprint spread out before them like an open book. "Let's map out what we want our mural to represent. Let's answer together what we want our family to become," Jack initiated, the resolve alighting hope in his chest. No longer just painting walls, they were about to paint a rebirth of identity. And as the words flowed, Jack felt the burdens of his past lighten. They would not emerge unscathed, but reborn, unified, not defined only by their hardships, but elevated by their truthful expressions. As afternoon sunlight flooded the room, a sense of clarity enveloped him. He could finally see the fruition of his father's dreams, transforming into a legacy imbued with newfound love, understanding, and acceptance. It wasn't merely a moment of pain. It was one of healing. "Let's step into this new beginning together, as a family," Jack said, emotion threading through his words. With every stroke of the brush and every shared story, the mansion felt alive with potential. A reminder that from shadows, vibrant pieces of life could emerge. And for the first time, Jack fully embraced the legacy he had once shied away from. Not just of loss, but of connection, hope, and the art of family. Jack knew that this journey had just begun, but their commitment to each other, their pursuit of emotional clarity, and their embrace of both joy and sorrow would steer them through whatever lay ahead. They were ready to forge a future, transforming not just the mansion's walls, but the very essence of their family bond. The whispers of the past no longer haunted them. Instead, they became the foundation for what was to come. As they resumed painting, Jack felt a bubbling joy rise to the surface. They weren't merely restoring a structure, they were restoring the heartbeat of their family. "Let's make this room ours," he cheered, the sound of brushes against the wall echoing the sounds of laughter, the first echoes of eternity on the threshold of new beginnings. Now it was time to face the companionship of love and acceptance, knowing the shadows of their past could finally coexist with the vibrancy of their renewed spirits. Jack turned, smiling at Ryan and Emily, reveling in their shared mission, not bound by what had been but united in what could be. The mansion pulsed with warmth, full of promise. Their fresh coat not merely paint, but a vivid commitment to a future woven with threads of understanding, creativity, and hope. In that moment, Jack knew they had conquered more than just a mansion. They had reclaimed their family legacy. Face each wall they painted, and with every brushstroke, they embodied the essence of transformation. And there, in the heart of a house slowly becoming a home once more, Jack felt the thrill of possibility lingering ahead. This was their moment, their legacy beautifully redefined. Now was the time to share their story and cultivate the connections that lingered in the shadows. To lift up whatever essence resided in their hearts, unearthing treasures waiting to be painted anew. Together, the journey had only just begun, and Jack knew, now more than ever, that they would embrace the unknown, determined to shape their own narrative. Together. This was more than just a painting. It was a liberation that had finally emerged from the whispers of the past. A foundation for a vibrant future anchored in love. Jack stepped back, gaze fixed on the vibrant mural unfolding before them. The once muted mansion exuded life once more, glowing with the promise of tomorrows built upon the truth of their shared history. "Let's keep going," he declared with renewed fire in his voice. There was no going back, only forward. And as they worked, that heavy weight of the past vanished, replaced by the shimmering potential of the present and the promise of all the tomorrows they would embrace together. In that attic, and in that moment, Jack understood in his bones that they were just getting started. This was the legacy they would build, and it would be exquisite. Now, if you found inspiration from this transformative journey, you need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss more exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let others see this incredible journey. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this story. Their own moment of transformation could be awaiting. We appreciate your support. It transforms lives, one story at a time. Comment below with your thoughts, reactions, and theories. Your voice matters.